I got a lot of mail when I've been doing Star Trek over the years, and not too many times when I'll reveal a fan's mail that they send to me over the internet at any time, but this time I'll let it slide. This week I got a letter from one of the Star Trek fans. They mailed me some stuff in the mail. They like my films to the point, not too many actors will bring their fans stuff on to get in the mail and show to the world, but this time I'll do it. Some fan, when I've been doing Star Trek, mailed me this through the mail, one of the original comic books on Star Trek. Here it is. God love them. Right here, and they even gave me some more collectibles on Star Trek, right here. So I've been doing Star Trek for the past 30 years. The reason why I've been doing Star Trek for the past 30 years, now all you Star Trek fans out there, I'm not going to lie to you. One woman found me out and she said, "Adam, you're a Trekkie." I put my hand up. You found me out, didn't you? The reason why I've been doing Star Trek for the past 20 years is because I got a passion for it. In a way, you could say I got the same vision as Gene Roddenberry did when he first started doing Star Trek back in the 1960s, a retired Air Force pilot. And Gene Roddenberry, in my opinion, he had a vision of what direction the world should go down, because when you look at the world, the direction it's going down today now, it ain't that good. When I look at Gene Roddenberry, for some reason, the government what we got elected today, if it's the Canadian government, the federal government, whatever government is in the world that goes on, I believe personally they can lead us on a better direction. But the direction what mankind are going down right now ain't that great. Ain't that good, But, when I've been doing Star Trek for the past 20 years, I started now when I was in grade school, elementary. Started back in 1992, if I'm not mistaken. I started doing storylines on Star Trek, no stories, on a graded pen and paper to draw all the pictures on what's going on. It's always Captain Kirk and Spock, never Captain Picard, nothing like that. Not that I get anything against you, Patrick, back down home. You too, Jonathan Franks, nothing against you, but for some reason I was always addicted to the original Star Trek series. And there was one story where I tied Captain Picard and Captain Kirk, Dr. McCoy, Commander William T. Riker, all in one film. But there was a storyline. But, when I did that story, it sold. And every time I did a Star Trek story, it always worked. And when I met William Shatner in Toronto 2 years ago at the York Royal Hotel when he was checking out to go on the George Stropolopoulos show, and I was going on Hockey Night Canada. No, I was doing a film in Toronto, but I decided to kill time. Let's go watch a hockey game. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. So I did that. And when I looked over, there's Bill Shatner signing out at the hotel. And I walked over. A lot of people said, "Bill ain't that. He's not the good guy what he claims to be. He's hard to get along with." Yeah, I heard that too. But when I met Bill Shatner, he was a pretty good going guy. So I met him, and I told him I'm doing Star Trek. And a lot of people told me William Shatner don't like playing the Captain Kirk persona in person. He likes to separate that character. He was dying to kill that character off back in 1994 when they finally did it. And Rick Berman figured a way to end Captain Kirk. And I said, "Bill, I'm doing a Star Trek story. It's a matter of time for I do go for the transition from pen to the films. I'm doing a transition. I'm going to start put Star Trek on film now. I'm going to help reboot the series." And Bill looked at me and said, "Adam, you want to do a Star Trek? You want to be successful in Star Trek? If you do your storylines right, Star Trek will always work, no matter what." And when I started doing it, at first the numbers were low. Then when I gave up on my comic series where the numbers were low. It wasn't working. But when I started doing the films on Star Trek, the actual films, the numbers were very successful. And a lot of people was able to interact with me on the storylines that I was doing. Something like Gene Roddenberry when he said, when he did an episode with this planet they went to, one guy was black on one side and white on the other. And really that story was supposed to be addressing back in the 1960s when mankind had a hard time accepting people because they were different. Their skin color was different, black, white, Chinese, whatever. And really it was a good storyline because it was same problems that was happening back then in the 60s, back in the 23rd century, saying how we're going to overcome it. And I did another storyline on that, similar but different. I did a storyline about sexism. People don't feel comfortable dealing with police officers because if a guy reports a woman to a police officer, the police won't take him serious because it's a woman. If a woman takes a guy to court, the guy doesn't want to go to court because he feels he's going to get discriminated against because it's a woman. But on this planet, what I call Planet 421, they had a similar issue, but except the world had enough of the sex battle. We went to war. They had no more trust in the police department, no more trust in their law enforcement, no more trust in the government, no more trust in the court system, none whatsoever, to the point the entire planet went to war. And instead of the men winning the war, I did something what Gene Roddenberry would do. Let's let the women win the war instead. And I did that, so Captain Kirk got the call. He went out, go see what was going on. The planet they went to was called, I called it Planet 421 because I couldn't think of a name for this planet, so I called it Planet 421. As Spock did his analysis readings on the Bridging Enterprise, giving back to Captain Kirk what was going on and what caused it. It's the sex war to the point, the world went to war to the point the women couldn't give no more offspring because there's no men because they were completely eliminated, to the point the offspring was dying. You can't bring the human life back if they're dying off because you got no offspring to create new life. So Captain Kirk had a whole crew of men on the Enterprise from Earth. They agreed to deliver the men to the Earth under one condition. They got to prove to Captain Kirk and to other governments that this Planet 421 changed their ways to avoid another war, because we're not going to give you people just to go show your hate and discriminate against. So we did that. I had tons and tons and tons of fan mail, emails emailing me how they loved that story, how it was addressing problems today in the 23rd century and how to deal with it. And when I did that, I had government officials come up to me saying, "No, Adam, that makes a lot of sense. You just showed what's going on, what's wrong today, and how we can fix it, and why ain't we fixing it today to avoid the road what we're going down. And the road what we're going down ain't that good at all." But, I've been doing Star Trek for years, Here I am getting fan mail, collectibles from fans across the world, This model here is what I use in my film, which you see now is on the Bridging Enterprise. A lot of Star Trek fans loved it, which was very successful. Here's one of the models I used when I collected. I didn't use this model in any of my films. It's one of the original models. And I got another Star Trek comic, which I used also in my comic version, which actually came from here, about a alien being that went into everybody's mind, causing chaos because he was trying to find another planet to live on, and Captain Kirk helped him out, find another planet to live on, so he stopped bothering people so he can get the help that he needs. And every movie that the original series did, I got it. But I can't show all my Star Trek stuff because I ain't got no time. But a fan emailed me and asked me, "Adam, you did a Star Trek, your first ever Star Trek film. It was very successful. But where's Leonard Nimoy? How can you have Star Trek without Leonard Nimoy?" They emailed me. They told me on Yahoo. Somehow the Star Trek fan found my email account on Yahoo and he emailed me. He said, "Adam, how can you have the original Star Trek series without Leonard Nimoy?" Well, I'm going to say is Leonard was supposed to be in that film. Ralph, you got the Star Trek fans mad at you. Ralph is my film editor. Ralph Jackson, and I'm going to say is the original script, Leonard was actually supposed to be in that film. He was actually supposed to be with me on the Bridging Enterprise. We had the episode where we're going to cut him out, put him on that scene with me. But for some reason, my film editor said, "Adam, I'm going to change the script around." And that put me in a tight spot because I was going by the script what I had written, which I was the director and the producer, which was a brave move by my film editor. Not too many film editors will challenge your director and the producers on this. So I said, all right, I'll listen to him. And that was one of the reasons why you see my acting, it wasn't the best, because I wasn't prepared for that script to change that fast. I never practiced any parts that I'd done in that film to be successful. And you know, I understand where the Star Trek fans were disappointed in that, because somehow a Star Trek fan, when they emailed me, they knew I was a Trekkie. Not too many people realize that Adam Conrod's a Trekkie. And you know, I'm going to say is I'm very pleased on how the Star Trek fans love that film that I've done. And there's more Star Trek films I'm going to be doing yet to come. I'm in the short version of films for Star Trek. I want to test and see how it works. Because, you know, I like to help out with the Star Trek producers when they're trying to reboot the series. Because when Star Trek officially died out, what was it, in 2009, when Star Trek done Star Trek Nemesis with Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, thought that I'm going to say that the show did bad, because it didn't. The reason why the numbers were down, because when people hear of Star Trek, you think of Kirk and Spock. Captain Picard and Riker, they know it, but when they hear Star Trek, they want Kirk and Spock. In my opinion, Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy were out of the Star Trek spotlight too long, and the fans wanted these characters back. Problem is, DeForest Kelley and Jimmy Doohan are passed on. They're no longer with us. And not only that, Majel Barrett's also gone. Nurse Chapel. So I always say, I always say what William Shatner said, you know, when a fan asked him, why don't you do another Star Trek movie? And Bill said this question. So if we're to warp into a crisis, who's going to give us our warp drive immediately? Jimmy Doohan, Scotty's gone. He died. We have crew members that are injured. We got no doctor to give them proper medical care, because DeForest Kelley is no longer with us. Dr. Leonard McCoy. Dr. McCoy's dead. And Nurse Chapel's gone. Majel Barrett. So how are you going to fix the problems? And when I look at it, and I say as a fan, you got a good point there, Bill. It makes sense. You got to have some sort of logic to it. But, the problem is, if you were to bring Bill Shatner in and they try to reboot the series, you're going back to the 1960 version. How do you make an 85-year-old William Shatner to a 24-year-old William Shatner again back in the 60s? You can't do it. But I like Chris Pine when he played Kirk, but the only problem is, the way he's playing Kirk, it's not right. William Shatner had the pretty boy look when he was playing Kirk. He was the tough cowboy persona. When you look at Chris Pine, you got to bring those two characters back when he's playing Kirk. You got to have the pretty boy look that can attract the women like William Shatner did, and you got to play the tough cowboy in outer space like Shatner did. If you ain't got those two chemicals with you, maybe Chris Pine ain't the actor to play Kirk. But I like all the rest of the cast. I'm confident that, Zachary's playing Leonard Nimoy's character quite well. This is one of their uniforms. I tried to get Leonard's uniform, but somehow the Star Trek store didn't want it. They ran out. But, I'm confident when I do Star Trek. It's doing well. The numbers are high. I like to tell stories, that's wrong in today, and to explain how we can make it better in the future. It was very successful, and I like doing Star Trek, and I really enjoy it.